Hello, welcome to In Studio. I'm Ian Butterfield. In this video I'm going to do a critique of a photograph sent to me by subscriber Andi. I've had this image sent to me by one of the subscribers to this video channel, Andi, and he's asked me to critique it. And well, first of all, thank you, Andi, for sending the photo to me. Andi's also sent me the original unedited file. So one of the things I can do with this video, as well as doing the critique, I can do a complete reprocessing of the image just to show an alternative way of creating the effect that that Andi was trying to create with his editing. So let's first of all look at the image as sent by Andi. And it's a photograph of Crosby Beach. He's called it Gormley Sunset, and Gormley is Anthony Gormley, and it's his statues you can see here in the middle of the image. Let's start off by looking at the shooting data on this, the EXIF data. It was shot at 2000th of a second f11. I'm assuming that's primarily because it was a bright day. ISO 200. That's probably because he was shooting with Nikon. A lot of the Nikons, you can't get down to ISO 100 with them. So yeah, he's shooting aperture priority, a good choice. f11, again, reasonable choice for landscape, because that gives you a reasonable depth of field. It's also f11, f8, round about where the lens is at its sharpest, so it's a good choice on that. Center weighted averaging for the metering. Now this I find a little bit strange. Center weighted is a very old form of metering, and what it does is it takes meter readings across the whole of the image, but then just adds a little bit of weight to whatever it finds in the middle of the image. Now, we tend not to put our subjects in the middle of our image, so it can mean that it's not necessarily the best form of metering for cameras. It's been superseded in Canon by evaluative metering, and in Nikon by, I think it's called matrix for the Nikon range, and where that still considers the entire image, but it then runs through all the different bits that it's metered within the image and throws it through an algorithm which tries to work out the best exposure for the image. And generally, I would say it does it a little bit better than center weighted. So Andi, I'd recommend you change that. Unless you had a particular reason for using center weighted on this, go over to evaluative, as I think you'll get slightly better results with your metering overall. With this particular image, I don't think it would have made that much difference, to be perfectly honest, but it's a better setting to be on normally. The lens that he's been working with is a 55 to 300 millimeter lens, and he's set his focal length at 58 millimeters, which is good. That's more or less the equivalent of what the human eye would see. It's in what we call the normal lens range, and so good choice for the particular scene. I think generally settings wise reasonable, other than, as I say, the metering mode. Looking at the composition on the image, I like the way you've used the rule of thirds, Andi, with the horizon on a third line and the Gormley statue on another third line. Nicely divides the image up. Well done. I know from the title that you've wanted to call this Gormley Sunset, but looking at the time that you photographed it, which was 10 past 3 in the afternoon in August, means that we were actually nowhere near sunset at the time, and the entire sunset effect has been created in post-production. I think on the whole that's worked, but what's let it down is the blueness that's seeping in from the sky. You wouldn't get at a sunset the orange sand, but with still some blue left in the sky like that blue tint to it. It just looks a little bit unnatural for me. So I like, as I say, like the image. It's been well done. I love the idea of using silhouettes for the people and the reflections in the sand. So love the composition. I think the post-processing could do with a little bit of extra work to it. This is where I'm going to look at the original image that Andy sent me without any editing to it. So let's just move over to that, and I'll go into the develop module. That's D for develop, and I'll process this now, and I'll talk through the steps that I'm doing as I do it. The first and most obvious thing about this image is the horizon isn't quite straight on it. So let's pick the rotate straighten tool, R on the keyboard, or this particular icon up here. I'm going to use the angle tool or straighten tool and just draw a line along that horizon, and Lightroom will then correct to that. So we've now got that R to come out of there. Now we want to create this sunset effect with it, and to do that I think we're going to be better off converting the image to black and white and then adding the sunset colour in afterwards. So let's go to the basic tab, select black and white. Now with all black and white images I want to have some punch to it. So to create that I'm going to darken the blacks which are in there. That will give us the silhouette effect. So I'll bring the blacks down about 17, 18, something like that. So that just darkens it slightly. I'm going to push the clarity up because that will add contrast to the midtones and give a bit more, well, I say bite to the image. So let's bring that up to high 40s, early 50s, something like that. Yeah, something there. That will do nicely. And I'm wondering whether it's just looking at the histogram and the image. I think it's slightly underexposed now. Part of that will have been introduced with the changes I've done. So I'm just going to boost the exposure just a little bit. Yeah, that's all it needs. It's about 1/3 of a stop, just to give some light here. So we've got that nice contrast. Now, the next problem is the sky. There is detail there, but we need to bring it out. So I'm going to use a graduated filter. Now, if you're not familiar with graduated filters within Lightroom, I've got a tutorial explaining them on this channel. So do take a look at that. The details of it will be up on the screen. But let's go M for graduated filters. I'm just going to reset everything on here, and there's a certain amount of trial and error with this. Now I think the first thing I need to do with it is just to bring the exposure down very slightly, maybe half a stop. I want to make the sky more contrasty so I can see the detail in these clouds. So I'm going to push contrast all the way up. I'm going to push the clarity all the way up, and then I'm going to apply the filter, and I will adjust it from there. So you always start, as you click and drag with a filter, you start with the top part, the section that's got the effect to it. So I'm just going to pull down on that, and that's round about it. Now I'm struggling to get that straight with the horizon, so if I hold the shift key you'll see that will jump to be perfectly straight. So I'll release that. Now that's not too bad. I could do with getting a little bit more detail out of there and a bit more contrast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play around with the shadows and the highlights to do that. So I'm going to boost the highlights, which will take the whiter parts of the sky and make them brighter. So I just bring that up and bring the shadows down. And we're starting to get something that's going to work for this. That's not too bad at all. There's obviously a bit more, there's more detail in there than we had. So I think that's a reasonable sort of starting point for that graduate filter. So M to come out of there. I still think the image needs a little bit more bite to it, a bit more contrast to it. So I'm going to do that with curves. It's a tool we don't often use in post-processing, or at least I don't, but here I think it's really the right tool for the effect. So open the tone curve channel, and we want to be on point curve with it. So make sure that's selected, and then I'm just going to create a very slight S effect to it. So if I do something like that, you can see what that's done with both the main part of the image and the sky. It's added that contrast in there that we need to make this image work. So now we've got a good black and white conversion with it. We now want to add in the sunset effect. So to do that, we're going to use split toning. So open the split toning panel. Now the trick with split toning is to set your saturation before you set your colour, because otherwise you can't see the colours. So I'm just going to push the saturation up on both sliders to about third point, something like that, just approximate, just to give me an idea. And we want this sort of golden colour to it. So I reckon if we take the highlight, the hue for the highlights, and that's the brighter parts of the image, and we want that to be a sort of golden colour. So something round about, the 50 mark would work for that, I think. So, yeah, about 51 will do. Then for the shadows, we want a slightly different tone to it, and I'm going to go for around about the 30s for the colour on that, and you'll see the difference that makes. So about 34. That's giving us this sort of sepia tone effect to it, but by playing with the saturation, we can really make this look like that golden light that we get late in the day. So if I push up the saturation on the highlights, we can start to see how much golden that becomes. And the saturation on the shadows, I think we can just take it down perhaps very, very slightly, about 37. The balance then controls how much is taken from the highlights, how much is taken from the shadows in terms of that overlay. Well, I think we need more towards the highlights on this, because that's where the golden colour is. So let's just bring that up just. Let's see what we get. I would say around about 60, 70, that sort of order. We'll go 69. And there we can see we've now got this sort of golden sunset effect on the image. It's a different way of processing the same image. I'm sure Andy did it his way, and which way is best is entirely down to personal preference. I'm sure some of you watching this video will think, well, that's not as good as Andy achieved, and perhaps some people might think otherwise. Either way, it doesn't matter. What I wanted to do with the reprocessing was just to show you an alternative way of doing it, and to introduce a few of the Lightroom tools to you. So let's just compare the two different images. This one's my processing, and this one is Andy's, and you can see there's merits in both, just two different approaches to the same image. So thanks for watching this video, and thanks particularly to Andy for sending the image in and allowing me to post-process it. And I hope to be doing some more of these critique videos over the future, so if you want to be included in them, then do get in touch. Other than that, please subscribe to this video channel, subscribe to my weekly photography newsletter for latest information on what's going on here at Ian's studio, and also for free photography hints and tips every week. So as ever, thanks for watching. Bye-bye. This has been an in-studio video presentation by Ian M. Butterfield. All content and photographs are copyright their creators and may not be reproduced without prior permission. For more information including how to subscribe to this and other videos, please visit www.ians-studio.co.uk/videos. Thank you.